For centuries, Speed Duel players have awaited for the Speed Duel Battle City box. And while they await, they wonder what's in the box. And as they wonder, one brave man takes the challenge of attempting to predict what's in the box. Hey Legacy community, it's Terramaster. Welcome to episode 1 of What's in the Box, where I will try to predict what's going to be in the Speed Duel Battle City box coming later this year in November or December, depending on where you live, because Europe's going to get it in November, late November, and in North America here, we're going to have to wait until December, sadly. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into what today's episode is about. As you may have already guessed from the background, today's going to be a little bit of a machine-themed episode of What's in the Box. And so today, the first card obviously I want to talk about is our boy that we already know is in the box and has already been released in Europe to be part of Speed Duels, as well as of course part of Speed Duel online community here, as we have Jinzo. Jinzo, like we know, is the trap card negator, the best trap card negator ever. I will not hear any arguments to the contrary. Jinzo negates all trap cards, as well as trap cards may not be activated while Jinzo is face up on the field. So today we're going to talk about specific Jinzo cards as well as other generic machine cards. Now first, let me say that with the addition of Jinzo, which we already know about, I'm pretty sure since this is a Battle City box, we're going to get the character that played Jinzo, and that is, here we go, our boy Espa Roba. I think we're going to get a couple of new Espa Roba skills, and I wanted to talk about those first. And here are what I think we're going to get as Espa Roba skills. I've created these skills as quote-unquote link monsters because that's the one that looks closest to a skill card. So here we go. The first one you can see in the middle of your screen right now is Psychic Shockwave. Now this is based on the card Psychic Shockwave, and you activate the skill. It is a quick play skill, and whenever your opponent activates a trap card, you activate it, you discard a spell or a trap as the cost, and you can special summon one Jinzo from your deck or hand. You can only activate the skill once per turn and twice per duel. Now this deck essentially scares your opponent out of using trap cards for the whole game, and for that reason I feel the argument may be made that it's a little overpowered. But think about it this way, that your opponent can also bait out your Jinzo, and then as long as they have an answer to it, they pretty much just use one trap to force you to discard one spell or trap, and then they force you to summon your Jinzo so that they can out it. And the skill is only twice per duel, so if they're able to successfully bait out your Jinzo twice, and you have to run at least 2 copies of Jinzo to actually use this twice, because once that Jinzo is in your graveyard, the skill can no longer special summon it. And the reason I think this skill is more balanced as a skill rather than a card is purely because of the discard cost, and that's why I think the card would actually be too weak and not be played. But if you have a skill which you don't have to actually set the trap, draw the trap first of all, then set it, then activate it, then discard a card for it, I think it's much better and is actually playable. Now let's talk about the second one here, which is Jinzo Returner. Now once again, I have based this off the card. You'll notice this as a theme in What's in the Box. And a lot of my skills I'm going to base off of cards that I think are either too strong or too weak to have an impact if they are printed as a card. So here's Jinzo Returner, and this is activate this skill during your main phase, special summon Jinzo from your graveyard. You can only use this skill once per duel. Now another reason I printed both of these skills as skills, or I'm predicting that both of these skills will be printed as skills, is because that way you can't combine cards like Psychic Shockwave and Jinzo Returner with generic skills like Inner Conflict or Spellproof Armor. So if you want to build a Jinzo deck, you actually have to build a Jinzo deck. And so talking more about Jinzo Returner, and what makes this really good is that this, instead of chaining to a trap and allowing you to quick summon Jinzo Returner pretty much lets you revive a Jinzo on your turn, and this only once per duel. So it's like a Monster Reborn effect, but only for your Jinzo. It doesn't have the drawback that the Jinzo Returner card has, which destroys your Jinzo at the end phase of the turn it was summoned. So I think Jinzo Returner is actually playable as a skill with that restriction taken away. And once again, the reason these two cards, in my opinion, are better as skills is just because of the fact that it makes them playable, and also it allows you to build an actual Jinzo deck without using actual Jinzo cards. Alright. Not without using actual Jinzo cards, with using actual Jinzo cards. Now let's move on to the actual cards that we have for you guys today. First cards I want to talk about are direct Jinzo support cards that I think could be in the box here, and these are the two I'm going to read to you on my screen here. We have Amplifier and Jinzo Jector. So let's take a look at the equip spell Amplifier first. It can only be equipped to a Jinzo as long as this card is equipped. The effects of trap cards controlled by the opponent's monsters. The effects of trap cards controlled by the equipped monster's controller are not negated by the effect of the equipped monster. When this card is removed from field, the equipped monster is destroyed. This card's activation and effect cannot be negated by any other card. So this amplifier cannot be negated in case we get some crazy spell negators in the box. And Amplifier is really good because it allows your own traps to be live while you have Jinzo. Now this is another piece of what I was talking about with the skills, in that you can actually build a deck around Jinzo, and something like Amplifier still allows you to have trap cards and use them alongside your Jinzo. The other card that has a similar effect is Jinzo Jector. Jinzo Jector's name becomes Jinzo while on the field or in the graveyard. You contribute it to add one Jinzo monster from your deck to your hand, except Jinzo Jector. Then reveal all set cards in your opponent's spell and trap card zones. If there are trap cards among them, you can special summon Jinzo monsters from your hand up to a number of trap cards revealed. You can only use the effective Jinzo Jector once per turn. Now what makes Jinzo Jector really good is it's a turbo out to Jinzo, to summon Jinzo without needing to use your skill. And I think Jinzo Jector will really go well with Jinzo Returner, and that's because you can search your Jinzo. If your opponent has a trap, you special summon it right away, and then you can use your Returner after it's destroyed. So this card already, I'm thinking about synergy with the skill Jinzo Returner. Similarly, I didn't mention this before, but I think Amplifier has some synergy with Psychic Shockwave, as once you summon your Jinzo, you can hit your Amplifier onto it. So it's very good. So these cards combined with the skills, I really think you can make a real Jinzo deck and use Espa Roba as your character rather than something generic. Now here's a cute little card that's not related to Jinzo by effect. However, it is related to Jinzo by name, and that is this little guy here, Jinzo Number 7. Jinzo Number 7 is a cute little level 2 dark machine monster with 500 attack, whose effect basically states that this monster can attack your opponent's life points directly. Now I think this would actually be really cool with Heavy Metal Raiders, because Heavy Metal Raiders is once per turn your monster can't be destroyed by battle. So if this monster can't be destroyed by battle, since it's a dark machine, it then gains attack based on the monster that attacked it. So therefore you could actually have a Jinzo Number 7 that powers up when it battles, and then it could actually attack in directly with that additional juice that it gains from your skill. So really little cool interaction there I wanted to talk about, and I think we're probably going to get this card because it's somewhat iconic as far as like classic Yu-Gi-Oh machine monsters goes. And now I want to talk about vanilla machine monsters, and this is mostly to add support for the skill Spellproof Armor. Now here we have Inpachi, Inpachi is a Earth level 4 machine at 1600 attack and 1900 defense. I think this is something really good for machine type monsters. It is essentially the stat line of Command Knight to compete with warriors having Command Knight and being able to set a 1900 defense and then flip it up to be at 1600. This is really good for machines. Like, although it lacks the machine boost ability that Command Knights gives to warriors, I still think Inpachi, the stat line, is something really good and machines really need. Speaking of stat lines, we all know that machine monsters in Speed Duels could really use some more power. So that's why I am predicting we're going to get that power in the form of one Gadget Soldier. I found a really cool anime picture. As we know, Kaiba played Gadget Soldier in Battle City. It's got 1800 attack and 2000 defense. It is level 6, however, that's why it's spellproof armor specific support, because with spellproof armor, you can summon Gadget Soldier without tributing, and who wouldn't want to summon Gadget Soldier? I mean, look at those abs. Finally, the final vanilla machine monster I'm predicting will almost definitely be in the box as machine support. I say almost definitely, but it's just my prediction. What the hell do I know? That is Spikebot, 1800, 1700, level 5, very solid stat line to be able to be normal summoned only if you're running spellproof armor. These 3 cards really give machine monsters the stat boost that they need. Now, we're done with vanilla machines. Let's talk about some dark machines. Now, this can actually be support for spellproof armor as well as heavy metal raiders, even though I think heavy metal raiders is not good enough of a skill to be played even if the dark machines were strong monsters. Anyway, let's take a look. Anyway, here we have Fusilier Dragon, the dual mode beast. Now, Fusilier Dragon is cool because it's normally level 7, however you can normal summon it. It just becomes 1400, 1000 if you do that. Now, this can be used with heavy metal raiders in order to go ahead and just place it on the field, and then if there's something in the box that can let you reset it, then you can reset it and then take advantage of your heavy metal raiders ability. Here we have Twin Barrel Dragon. Twin Barrel Dragon, when this card is summoned, target one card your opponent controls, toss a coin twice, and the result is 2 heads, destroy it. So if you calculate the math on this, Twin Barrel Dragon is a card that on summon gives you a 25% chance of destroying any one card on your opponent's side of the field. And 1700 is just good enough stats for that kind of an effect, especially if you're playing heavy metal raiders, in which case Twin Barrel Dragon will be protected from battle once per turn. Here we have Blowback Dragon as the last dark machine I am predicting to be in the box. It says once per turn you can target one card your opponent controls, toss a coin 3 times, and destroy that target if at least 2 of the results are heads. It's like the dad of Twin Barrel Dragon, as Blowback Dragon will give you a slightly higher chance of popping a card. And in addition, it's like a nerfed Barrel Dragon, or I guess a better Barrel Dragon too, because Barrel Dragon takes 2 tributes to summon, and Blowback Dragon only takes 1. Next up, I'm going to show some love to the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime machine monster player, and that is Bandit Keith, whose skills we've been talking about a little bit. And that's because I want to talk about a few cards specific to him as far as the anime goes, and that is the Machine Kings, as I'll call them. We have from left to right here. Starting with the weakest, we have Machine King Prototype, level 3 Earth Machine. This card gains 100 attack and defense for each machine type monster on the field except this card. So it's only 1600. You need another machine to power it up to 17 and 2 more to power it up to 18, and that's all Speed Duel Zones will let you do. So it's potentially adding more power, but I didn't want to give something that could already be stronger than Gadget Soldier and Spikebot. So here you have Machine King, which could be 1800, but only if you have 2 other machines. And then you have Machine King, who is a tribute summon, 1 tribute summon machine monster, level 6. and that is this card gains 100 attack for each machine type monster on the field. So it says 2200 there, but as long as its effect is active, which is a continuous effect, it will actually be 2300. So this is actually a 100 stronger than Gap 1 tribute monster. So finally we have Perfect Machine King. The evolution is complete. It's like a Pokemon that evolves twice into Perfect Machine King. Perfect Machine King is level 8, and it says this card gains 500 attack for each other machine type monster on the field. So if you can get Perfect Machine King out alongside one more machine, it is a whopping 3200. That's right, it is bigger than Blue Eyes White Dragon and more meta relevant if you can get Perfect Machine King out somehow with 2 other machines. It is stronger than Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. And that was the Machine King series. That was me showing a little bit of love to Bandit Keith. The last 2 monsters I'm going to predict today that are going to be in the box are going to be these 2 little machine monsters here, and that is Sergeant Electro and Shredder. Now, Sergeant Electro is a level 4 fire machine monster with 1600 attack and 1300 defense. And it says once per turn you can target one set card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone. While this card is face up on the field, its targets cannot be activated. Now, this is really cool back row hate in my opinion. With spellproof armor, it actually makes itself really hard to get off the field unless you just have a stronger monster or of course a monster effect to get it off the field. And of course you can always chain to its effects, so a lot of the current meta traps are chainable, such as a Nightmare Wheel or a Zoma the Spirit. However, this is still going to be something that's very good even for quick plays. Like, you can force your opponent to use something on a Sergeant Electro or time their Zoma and activate it when they usually wouldn't want to. And that's why I think in such a heavy back row influence meta that we have right now, a card like Sergeant Electro would actually be healthy for the meta rather than be unhealthy. And I know people are going to think that it helps OTK decks, but remember, as long as cards are chainable and as long as we have prominent hand traps like Sphere Karibo, Sergeant Electro as a 1600 body isn't really that bad. Like, yes, it's back row hate, but it's back row hate that you have to use your normal summon on, getting a 1600 out, rather than being able to use a normal summon to start a combo or do something else that's cool with your normal summon, like summon something like Shredder, which can serve as removal. Here's Shredder, that is a level 4 Earth machine, has 1600 attack and a 1000 defense. It says once per turn you can send one machine monster from your hand to the graveyard, then target one monster your opponent controls with a level less than or equal to the sent monsters, destroy that target. Now, I felt like machines needed their own little form of removal here, and thus you have Shredder. Now, discarding almost any machine can get rid of any commonly played machine, I guess I should word that, should get rid of level 4 or lower monsters on your opponent's side of the field. However, what I think is really cool with Shredder is you can combo it with one of the skills I talked about earlier, which is actually Jinzo Returner. So what you can do here is you can discard your Jinzo for Shredder's effect, remove a monster on your opponent's side of the field that is obviously level 6 or lower, and then you can go ahead and activate your Jinzo Returner skill to special summon that Jinzo from your graveyard. And if your opponent was depending on that one monster and just traps to protect themselves, then there it is. That's actually a really cool OTK combo, which may further encourage the use of Jinzo Returner, the skill. We are finally done with monsters, and after monsters, of course, we have to talk about some machine support spells to add. And here are 3 I would think we're going to see in the box. And the first is Machine Assembly Line. It says all machine type monsters on the field gain 200 attack. Each time a face-up machine-type monster on the field is destroyed, place 2 junk counters on this card. You can send this card to the graveyard, then target one machine-type monster in your graveyard whose level is less than or equal to the number of junk counters that were on this card. Special summon that target. So in other words, it's a long-term value card. It gives you all your machine monsters 200 attack. And not only that, it gives you more long-term value in the future, where if your opponent destroys 2 of your machines, then you can use machine assembly line, send it to the graveyard, and bring back a level 4 machine. And if your opponent happens to destroy 3 of your machines, you can even get 6 counters on this thing and reborn a Jinzo. Yep, alright. Here's Iron Call, which is the next card, and this card, I'll read it first. If you control a machine type monster, target one level 4 or lower machine type monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. Its effects are negated, destroy it during the end phase. Now this is pretty cute because it lets you special summon a level 4 or lower machine as long as you already have a machine type monster. This has halfway decent synergy with the Machine King, as well as Iron Draw. So Iron Call, Iron Draw, the names are similar. It kind of makes sense. You can have just one machine type monster, you can use Iron Call to bring back another one, and then you can go ahead and use Iron Draw, which just becomes a pot of greed. And the card is balanced because it negates the effect of the monster it brings back, and if you don't do something with it this turn, it will die at the end phase. Finally, I want to talk about a really cool equip for machine type monsters, and that is Gravity Blaster. Gravity Blaster now says equip only to a machine type monster once per turn. You can activate this effect. It permanently gains 400 attack. This attack gain remains even if this card leaves the field or the monster becomes unaffected by card effects. If it battles an opponent's monster, that monster's effect is negated during the battle phase only. Reasons I think Gravity Blaster is really cool is, first of all, I've already mentioned machines need more power in Speed Duels, and this is the ultimate card to give them power. Second off, Gravity Blaster combines amazingly with Jinzo, in that a lot of time when Jinzo first entered Speed Duel, at least in the online community, some of us tried to figure out with Spellproof Armor, Jinzo's effect that spells and traps taken care of. Now you're only really afraid of monster effects, right? So some of us tried using Wicked Flamberge Bow. I think that's what it's called. I'll put it on the screen. But Gravity Blaster takes care of that without having an annoying discard cost, and it also has the additional effect of you can just use it on another machine and feel good about that. At least you're giving it power every turn. With Jinzo, it's just absolutely ridiculous. With the spells out of the way, the only thing left to talk about is traps. And there's only going to be one machine trap in my prediction, and that is this guy right here, Rare Metal Morph. Rare Metal Morph says activate this card by targeting one machine type monster on the field. It gains 500 attack. Once negate a spell effect that targets that monster. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. Now this is really cool because it allows you to not have to play Spellproof Armor in order to protect your machine type monsters from something like Offering to the Doom, as well as, of course, it addresses the machine weakness of power that I've been trying to address this whole episode pretty much. And that's that damage step activation potential of gaining 500 attack is really cool, as well as if we get other spells that target monsters, it can negate those as well, not just offerings. And if somebody knows a lot about rulings, I actually want to go ahead and lay this out as a question for the comments, and that is, how would Rare Metamorph interact with Parasite Paranoid for something meta relevant? So for example, if they equip Parasite Paranoid, could I respond with the Rare Metamorph to negate my monster turning into an insect for this turn, or actually would I have to chain to Parasite Paranoid because it has to be a machine when I activate it and target it? So if I chain to the activation of Parasite Paranoid with the Rare Metamorph, could I then protect my monster from becoming an insect for the rest of the turn, because when Parasite resolves, it will be an equip, and if I'm not mistaken, equip cards constantly target the monster. Now moving on from that rulings question, if somebody could answer that, that would be awesome. But this could also combo really well with Amplifier and Jinzo. So if you have Amplifier on your Jinzo, that allows your traps to be active, as well as with Rare Metamorph, now Jinzo can be protected from a targeting spell. So all in all, I think it's a really cool card for machines and will allow them to depend less on spellproof armor. Now, not to say I want to necessarily have spellproof armor get power crept out or anything. I don't think this would do that, because you have to draw Rare Metamorph, and in addition, if you play spellproof armor, you don't have to play Rare Metamorph. So there's lots of benefits to playing it if there's another good skill you want to play, such as the Jinzo skills I talked about. And there's also benefits to not playing it, because you can argue that spellproof armor does half its job already and does it better. And that concludes the first episode of What's in the Box. I hope you had some fun. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you like what you see in this series or any of the other videos on the channel, leave a comment as to what you think about these cards. Did I miss something as far as machines go that you'd like to see? Because one thing I will tell you before I go off is that the next episode, episode 2, will cover unions. So that's something to look forward to, coming out probably in a week, if not less. I will see you for episode 2, Union Edition. Terramaster out.